Hello there and welcome to Chipola College Television. This is Royce Reagan with Chipola Talks. Chipola's where we are. Talk is what we do. If you got an idea for a show, don't call and tell me the idea. I don't need any ideas. What I need is people to do the ideas. Come in and talk about it. You can sit in my chair and host your own show. If it's informational, that'll give back to the community, because that's what we try to do. I'm in education, my 47th year. Yes, that's the truth. I started when I was 19, teaching school while I was still in college, and I enjoy it. But I also enjoy seeing the sparkle in a kid's eye when he has an aha moment. And I've got a former student here with me today, along with a couple of other ladies. We're going to talk about something that you need to know about. And they've given me some statistics I don't believe. So I'm going to argue with them a little bit and let them convince us that that's what it is, because autism is a major problem in America today, maybe even the world, and we'll talk about that. Who do I have with me today?
Anne Marie Shelton.
Anne, how you doing?
Good.
How long has it been since you played your clarinet?
Actually, about a year.
Really?
I did.
Why did you bring it today? You could have.
Well, no, it wasn't that good. My son's taking guitar, and I needed to get it out to give him some
notes.
Pacing.
Yeah. Oh, pacing.
So I pulled it out and played the piece that he needed to play, and they were impressed. Yes.
And this is?
Sue Armstrong.
Sue Armstrong. Quit squeezing my hand, Sue. How you doing? She must work out every day. Is that what it is?
No.
No, you don't. And who is this?
Cynthia Alvarez.
Oh, yeah. Well, she acted like she was the boss when she emailed me today.
She is
the
sometimes.
boss?
We let her.
We let her be the boss.
On Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Well, now, where do y'all work?
Well, that's a good question.
Y'all don't work. That's right. Where
Well,
do
now we do. Cynthia is actually a school teacher. I am a stay-at-home mother, if you want to call it that.
That's working, trust me.
I virtually school 3 of my children at home.
Very good.
And I'm a student, and then we're all working together to get the Chipola Area Autism Resource Center up and running.
Say that slower.
Chipola Area Autism Resource Center.
Resource Center. Well, why do you want to do that?
We found with working with our own children, and
so your own children.
I have 2 children diagnosed on the autism spectrum. We realized quickly with our support group that met monthly that the community needed more, that there wasn't enough awareness and programming. We have very few services for children on the autism spectrum, and just needed to work together to bring some of those services back home to the community.
Well, most people don't know about autism. They've heard about it, they don't know it. Ms. Armstrong, what is spectrum? What does that mean?
A spectrum it's kind of like an umbrella, if you will. At one end, you have what they call the high functioning, the students that can speak and can comprehend, but maybe they have some sensory issues and some other issues. The other end of the spectrum are what we call the lower functioning students, children or adults, who are nonverbal. They kind of revert to a world of their own, and probably Cynthia can talk more about it than I can. But you know, it's where people think a child they're non-responsive, and they sometimes act out in behaviors because they have these sensory issues. So that's the spectrum.
That's the spectrum. It means from low to high.
Low to high.
0% to a larger.
Right.
Cynthia, now, why do you want to do this?
I have 2 children on the autism spectrum. My oldest son has Asperger's, which is a...
Oh, okay, wait now. Asperger was a man who's...
Right,
Asperger's
syndrome.
Psychology, we studied about him. Where did he live?
He lived in Europe, and in the 1940s, he was researching and saw that there was this behavior that didn't really fit so much into the description of autism that had previously been given, but had some of the similarities to autism. And so he developed this term. Asperger syndrome was developed after his research. And someone with Asperger's a lot of time has early language or develops their language normally most of the time, compared to someone on the autism spectrum might delay in their language learn at a young age. That's what they usually say about age 2 is when you would see signs of the child not developing in a normal manner as far as their language development and motor skills and things like that. So it is
motor skills along with mental?
It's several different issues, sensory
where do you teach
issues.
School?
I teach in Shipley High School. I'm a special education teacher there.
Well, we were arguing over it, and I like to use that term at the moment because I read the other day where it said 1 in 166 has some autism in them, or that kid or person would be that. And y'all corrected me, said 1 out of 88. Prove it to you, Ms. Armstrong.
The CDC put it out, I believe, February.
CDC.
Center for Disease Control.
Well, see, got to help us.
Okay. Put it out, I believe, February, March of this year. It used to be, prior to the 1 in 88, it was 1 in 110. And it is higher in males than females. So that's about...
What is the educational guess that causes it? Does anybody want to answer that one?
They're still looking at that. They're not conclusive. They're looking at a number of different avenues. One, they believe that it's being diagnosed more, it's being caught, and the diagnosis is being administered correctly instead of being diagnosed with some other disorder. The other thing is that they are looking at an environmental impact.
What does that mean now? That they think
just things that were coming. They're
what we eat and drink.
Yes. We eat and drink. They're looking at that as one of the things. The different chemicals and everything. There's a lot of things that are in our food now that weren't in our food 100 years ago, and they're not conclusive. Nothing conclusive yet, but they feel like that there's something genetic. There's some genetic component to some of the kids, and that they're predisposed to being impacted by these environmental or chemical responses. And my children, I have twins. One child has Asperger's, the other does not. So you question a lot of, okay, they were in utero at the same time. Everything was the same. I was the same age. So you look at it. You don't know. They received their vaccinations at the same time.
Well, I've heard rumors of that, the possibility.
Right.
Well, that couldn't be true either, because everybody had one. Obviously, the combination of all that. I'm Dr. Reagan here,
One of the things we
look be something.
We look back at generationally. I have a family who has a lot of engineers in it, very intelligent, and what they're seeing is that, or they're making some conclusions that with each generation, they're seeing children that are affected a little bit more by these disorders. So you don't have your, quirky engineer, now you have a child with Asperger's. And so a lot of times they're looking back at, that some of these things were not diagnosed, they weren't caught 30 years ago.
Don't misunderstand any of this. I'm just trying to, it's worried me because I have two good friends that both have a kid that's autistic. And one lives here and one lives somewhere else. And it does burden me to say, wait a minute, the devil control of whatever it is on this planet that makes things bad. I mean, when I was a little kid, if a person had a mental disorder, they'd just put them in the back room, not let anybody see them, and let them out to the family because they didn't have a problem with them. But autism is different, totally. I mean, and obviously we got away from locking people up because we figured out what was wrong with them. But I never remembered anybody when I was real small that had the symptoms, outward symptoms that I can see in those autistic friends' children. Some of them, they just don't say much. Don't act like they're focused on what we're talking about. But they're in their own little world and enjoying life. Now, they're happy kids. Both of them are happy kids, but they don't smile a lot. But when they do, they laugh hard.
Right.
Well, talk about your own children, if y'all wouldn't mind that, because people are sitting out there. Ms. Armstrong, why don't you start with yours?
My daughter, Caitlin, is diagnosed. She was diagnosed at the age of 2.5 and with autism. She is high functioning. She is 5.5.
What does high functioning mean?
High functioning means she's able to, she verbalizes, she speaks, her comprehension is high, her IQ is pretty high for her age, and she's able to be mainstreamed in the school system.
Yeah.
She does have speech therapy, occupational therapy, and a social skills group that she attends during the week.
Does that work?
Yes, but we've also had her in private trainings prior to that. So right now it's enhancing what she's already been able to learn. She has a twin brother who is 5.5, huh?
That's what I was going to say, twin.
Yes. And who does not have autism, like Anne-Marie was saying that, hers are twins.
Did you say male have it more than females?
Males generally do get diagnosed with it more than females.
They're 5 times more likely to be diagnosed than a girl.
What's the research on that? Do you know?
Again, one of the things that because I have both a son and a daughter, and we didn't realize that that's what was going on with the daughter until we were doing research for the son. But what they are saying is that girls tend to be able to cover it up. They might be introverts, they might not be very social, they might be very gifted intelligent-wise and are able to, they're expected to be less rambunctious than a boy, so they are rule followers in the classroom, so they're quiet, compliant with the teacher, and so different things like they're not picked up on quite as often. It's when they start hitting the puberty in the older years that they start having a bit more concern.
Let's ask her, talk about your children.
I have 2 sons. Both of them are on the autism spectrum. My younger son, Benjamin, is 12, and he's on the higher end of the spectrum. He had lots of language issues when he was young. He, about 2.5 is whenever actually the lady that used to keep him was the one that was kind of pointing me in the direction. She didn't want to come right out and say autism. And so she was like, suggesting I get his hearing checked because he didn't answer to his name. He only said a few words. And so I pursued that, and we went from there. He's had lots of private speech therapy and occupational therapy. That helped a lot. He gets it in the school system now. I'm in the process of having him reevaluated through Florida State University Speech and Language Clinic. Because of the age he's at, he still has some issues with articulation. He talks really fast sometimes, and he's either loud or soft. They don't really have a volume, control on their voices.
Are y'all charting all of this with your own children every day, like a log? That's going to be good for the research on down the road. I hope if you're not, go on and start it now.
That's a great idea.
I mean, it is. Chart it. Because then when the book's written, you have your name in the front of it, and they'll send you some money, too, to look after your children. But, but see, again, I'm fighting. The ones I know it's obvious something is wrong with them.
Well, one thing I can say, like my older son, Adrian, he's 14. Whenever he was younger, he spoke early. He taught himself to read when he was 3 using Reader Rabbit and Jumpstart on the computer because he got tired of us reading to him and not pronouncing words right because he had fascinations, dinosaurs. He'd read a dinosaur encyclopedia every night, the universe, the solar system, everything like that. And in the beginning, because he didn't have language issues, they thought he was ADHD when he was 4 years old. When he was tested to get ready for school, they thought he was ADHD. They thought he'd grow out of some of those behaviors. And then when his brother was diagnosed with autism, being diagnosed kind of like with Anne-Marie with her son and her daughter, that's whenever a psychologist looked and said, I think this might fall along the lines of Asperger's syndrome with him. Usually they're older when they're diagnosed, but he was 6 when he was diagnosed.
What is functional assessment? That's some of the words I've found.
That's a way of looking at the behavior, and what they're doing is you can't manage a behavior or try to change a behavior if you don't understand what the function of that behavior is. So it's a systematic way of looking at what's going on in the environment, what's going on with the individuals that child is interacting with, or things that they're coming in contact with. We call it the ABCs of behavior. A is for antecedent, what happens before a behavior. B is the behavior itself, what it looks like, what it sounds like. And then C is consequence, what happens after that behavior occurs. You can't change what the child is doing without changing what's going on before and what's going on after. And those are the things that we, as parents and teachers, can control. How we react to a child, the situation, if it's needs to be changed or tweaked beforehand, we can do that where we can't physically change their behavior.
Behavior analysis, that's another term. What is that?
That's analyzing, again,
seeing what's
systematically, ruling out through experimentation what is causing a behavior, and then coming to determination what the function of a behavior is. If that function is escape, and the child is allowed to escape by not doing an assigned task or leaving a room because he's uncomfortable, then what he's going to do to the next time that kind of he's going to do that exact same thing if it's getting up and darting out of the classroom when he's presented with a task that may be too difficult or maybe boring. He knows it. He's reading or she's reading, and they're not interested in it. But they can't tell you, this is not something I want to do. I'd rather do this, or, there's just times in life that you can't. You've got to do what you got to do. So looking at what the function, what that behavior is serving for them.
Well, how is what y'all are doing going to help teachers and parents deal with the situation?
Well, it's going to help them deal with it, and what we keep saying is it's not just with children on the autism spectrum. If you can understand and on the fly analyze what's going on with a child, what happened right before, what happened right after, then you have a better opportunity of changing those things that happened before and after to change the way that child reacts.
Well, they're not bad kids. No. Let's talk about that a minute. It's not bad kids. They're doing what? They're not. They're just kids.
A lot of times it's communication. That's one of the things, the title of the conference that we're doing, which we're going to talk about here shortly, is Managing Problem Behaviors in School and Home Settings. And one of the things people, my child doesn't have problems. They have Asperger's, but they're not a behavior problem. Well, not all problem behaviors are bad behaviors. Sure. It may be that they're having difficulty staying seated in, an area where they're working, or they're not, their diet isn't varied, or just different things going on that, problems that pop up. There are problematic behaviors that are problems.
Well, how many people in Jackson County are autistic kids? Do you have any idea?
When we were writing some grants, the district gave us a number of 64. That does not include any students that have not been diagnosed, or like my daughter, we virtually school her, so she's not actively involved with, it's public school, but she's not been evaluated through the school system.
Well, there's going to be idiots out say, well, they're just looking for something. They're just looking for something. So that's why we need to keep doing what y'all are doing.
Right.
Now, you're talking about a conference. Why do we need a conference?
Well,
Ms. Armstrong wants to answer that one.
We need a conference, someone to come in and help educate not only parents and caregivers. They are first and foremost, in my opinion,
sure.
And then the educators and anybody else who comes in contact with autistic children. They need to have a basic understanding of just how to care for them and like the behavior aspect of it. A child acts out because something happened. It's not necessarily because they're, like you said, bad children.
They're not bad children.
They could be in a room all of a sudden, or they could transition from one place to another, and it could be the humming of fluorescent lights above their head that is just, and because they have that hypersensitive hearing, perhaps it's just agitating them, and it sounds like white noise constantly. We don't know, but there's reasons why the behavior occurs. The gentleman that's coming to speak, I didn't have the honor to listen to him, but Anne-Marie and Cynthia did, and I understand that he's just outstanding, and he puts information in layman's terms. So
I appreciate that.
Y'all
going to laugh at me. I'm a musician. I don't even care about anything else, and I wish I did. But there's so much in my head, and an old man, like the IT stuff, the computers, the kids say, I don't want to know that. Don't even tell me. Just push the button and show me which one to make it work. But most people are like me. They don't have a clue. They're out there in the community, and they see an autistic kid, and they don't even realize he's autistic until he does something that they don't think he should be doing. Right. Or he's, what do y'all say, he's at the high end where he's really struggling with fitting in with even
right,
with
and
his parents.
It doesn't, whether it's a child that's got a higher functioning disorder or a lower functioning disorder, it doesn't mean that a child with Asperger's doesn't have problems.
Yeah.
That same child can have extreme sensitivities to sounds, to smells, to sights, whatever, that can cause that child to have meltdowns, things that you don't, not behavior that you typically expect to see. That's one of our things, is just trying to educate folks that, when you're in the grocery store or you're in a restaurant and you see a child having what you think is a temper tantrum, it may very likely be that child has autism. And
go ahead. I was going to ask, who can go to this conference?
Anybody.
Open?
It's free. It's free. It's open to anyone. And one of the reasons why we also wanted to have it here as a teacher is a lot of times when you have a really good speaker, they're not close by. Right. You have to travel overnight. You have to travel, half a day to go see someone. And this would give teachers and other staff within the school districts, not just in Jackson County, but in surrounding counties, an opportunity to be able to come and learn. They'll get continuing education credits that they can count, and they don't have to pay anything. The district doesn't have to pay anything for them to go.
Where is it going to be held?
Here at Chipola.
I mean, have they told y'all where on campus?
It's right now we're planning for the Language Arts building. I believe it's 116.
Yeah, that's a lecture
depending
hall.
on, we're watching.
If we outgrow, we'll go to somewhere else.
We're watching very close to the numbers. That's why we're asking people to go ahead. If you think you're going to come and you're pretty sure, a lot of times we tend to wait to the last minute to register. Go ahead and register because
ChipolaAreaAutism.org. Is that on that website?
it's actually, you're going to register at thefate.org.
That's why I got this question. What is the fate?
That is the Fate. The Fate is an organization that this gentleman that's coming to speak.
Who is this?
Tom Caffrey.
We haven't said it. Tom Caffrey.
Right, Tom
Where's
Caffrey.
he from?
He's from New Jersey, but he's a Florida resident now. And he has his master's in education and is also a board certified behavior analyst.
Yeah.
And also a father of an autistic adult. And he, a group of families in the New Jersey area did something similar to what we're doing, different but similar, that they united and they started realizing that there was a need to educate not only families but educators to provide them the information that they needed to work with these kids. And so they enjoyed the fundraising aspect of it, and so they have continued to do that after they've gotten a good control in their district. And he just happened to mention to us when we were at the conference, we went to the University of Florida CAARC conference in Jacksonville this summer, their summer institute, and he spoke and just mentioned, email them, see what they're doing. No, he didn't. We didn't know that we were going to hear him speak, didn't know who Tom Caffrey was. There were several good speakers that week, and so we went over there and
Well, are they good because they're good speakers or because the information was something
because
you've
the
never heard?
information was something that was
Real
you
to
could
you.
take it and use it. It wasn't going back over, I know what autism is. I mean, I might not be able to tell you what the ins and outs of every aspect of autism, but getting past Autism 101, giving me some tools that I can work with my children and work with the children in the community to better their outcomes. And so he mentioned to us to email thefate.org, the folks there, and see if they would be willing to sponsor
And they did.
a conference. And a month later, I got an email back that they indeed would sponsor
When
a
is
two-day
the date on
conference.
this?
November 9th and 10th.
November 9th and 10th. What are the hours on that?
It's 8:30 to 4:30. And
8:30 to
we did it
4:30.
a Friday to Saturday to try to make it accommodable.
Accommodation for anybody.
Yeah, well, that and for the
And for the
educators so that
teachers.
there wouldn't be a lot of time out of school, and the families that they wouldn't have to take a lot
Well,
of
the
time
smart
off
thing
work.
to do, if you've got a family member that's autistic and you've been struggling with it, this would be a good way to get some relief.
Absolutely.
But number two is, as an educator, you ought to be there. Or anyway, if you work in a church, if you work in a place where you
Exactly.
deal with people and with children, daycare centers, you name it, if you're dealing with that. So,
Right.
that does sound good. Go ahead. Ms.
I was just going to interject that because we live in a rural community and there aren't a lot of services available to families for their children, school is the first place that a lot of children actually receive any sort of services,
Sure.
speech, occupational, social skills. And it's just important that the teachers, the educators, the administrators at the school board get on board with helping us educate and empower parents to help their children.
Well, Sunland is there because there was a state legislature guy. Had a kid who was handicapped
Right.
of some kind. All he did is get on fire, and now we had 3 of the Sunlands. I'm not even sure. I think we got 2 now. But that's going strong because of that.
Right.
And that's what
And
we
the
need to
thing
do.
with autism is the kids learn differently, but they can still learn.
Oh, yeah.
There are some kids that have intellectual disabilities on top of autism, that their learning may be limited, but then there are a number of children that don't have an intellectual disability. You can't determine because a child can speak or not speak whether or not that child is intellectually disabled. Just because they cannot verbally communicate does not mean they don't have anything to say. And so we just want to make sure that we give these kids in our community the best chance that we can, and we feel like with educating the public, educating the parents, that we can make a difference that way.
Let me recap here. We're running short on time, and y'all are going to do another show next month, right?
Okay.
Even before the conference.
Okay.
Do one more.
Sure.
What is the deadline on register?
We don't have a deadline.
Good, don't say
We
anything
don't have a
else.
cap.
All right, let me squeeze. You got a conference up, and it's going to be for 2 days, November the
9th and
19th
10th.
9th and 10th, and it's going to be here at Chipola.
Right.
Just follow the signs, and if you need to register, go fate.org.
The Fate.
The T-H,
F-A-T-E.
the.
The F-A-T-E.org.
and register.
Right.
But, no, not but, register. Go ahead and do it. And 2 days, Friday and Saturday,
Right.
to make sure that the teachers can be a part of this.
And we've got folks, we've sent invitations all over the state. We've gotten some replies back from Pinellas County.
Great.
So it's not just the local folks. We've spread the information because we don't have a lot of opportunities for these kind of
Well,
conferences.
it seems like it's going to be very good.
And all it takes is time.
And free.
It's free.
And free.
And free.
So thank
Well, ladies,
goodness.
I appreciate y'all coming in, and let's do another one before then.
Okay.
I'll run this one to death between now and the next time, but maybe the week before, because you know how people are. They're going
Okay.
to wait till the last minute, but we'll make room for them. I appreciate it, and I admire you, number one, for dealing with your own child and facing the fact you need to have some special help, but giving your life to your own children. I mean, most parents think they do, but they don't know.
And real quick, I don't know when this is going to start airing.
Tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put in a plug.
Folks, tomorrow might have been yesterday or the day before by the time you see it, because we're going to show it several times. Go ahead.
We are in the process of opening a resource center here in Jackson County. We meet monthly right now as a support group, but we are working on the house that my parents had on Davis Street.
Right.
So we are actually having our first fundraiser this weekend from 7:30
It might not be
to
this weekend when you
3:30.
see this show.
Say the
That's
date,
okay.
say the date.
The date is October 6th. We're having a yard sale. Our goal is to raise money to start a resource library here in Marianna
Great.
that families from all over this area can come get materials, reading, whatever they need to do research on their own, to find out what, work with better ways of working with their children, just have some things available here locally so that they don't have the burden of the expense of going to purchase it. We've purchased a number of books
Sure.
between our group, and that they don't have to travel to Tallahassee or one of the other card centers to check out information from them. That we'll have some here for them locally. So that's what we're trying to do, is raise
And we have a
funds for
monthly
that.
support group.
And we do
When do
have a
y'all
monthly.
meet on monthly? When, where
Second.
and when?
The second Tuesday of each month from 6 to 7:30 at the First Presbyterian Church in the
Is that
Fellowship
morning or
Hall.
night?
At night. 6
Go
to
ahead and
7:30
sit
at
up.
night.
It's fine. It's at nighttime.
It's at night.
6 to 7:30. The
Second Tuesday of
Second
each
Tuesday.
month. And
All
we
right.
post it in the paper, in the community calendar
Very
each
good.
month, both papers.
very good. Well, ladies, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Folks, you've seen it right here on Chipola College Television. Almost everything you need to do about autism. If you come to this conference, and you need to, and I'm being serious when I say that, if you just need to. If you're an educator, take advantage of it. It's free. Get continuing education credits for that. But appreciate them. They're going to do another show right before the event, and then probably one afterwards. But I appreciate them. But most of all, I appreciate your watching and supporting Chipola College Television.